Alright, welcome back to One Piece Anime Review, episode number 127. I should point out, though, this will be the last one for a while for One Piece, because I really want to get down these other anime that I really want to watch. So, I will resume watching this with the Egghead stuff, Egghead Allen stuff, after I get done, well, I'm going to review basically next. This video is going to be Trap Decent. There's also going to be two other anime. Once I get those two anime done, then I'll resume back with this. Started with the third most recent set of double episodes released, which was going to be episodes. I think it was like 1086 to I think it was like 90, 86. I think it was. Yeah. It was 1086 to 1096. Yes, that sounds about correct. Yeah. So, here's what happens. Mostly put, it's continuing wrapping up certain plot threads, basically. Here's kind of what happens. So, big things happening. First, we have mentioning about the debut of Cross Guild, which is headed by one of the new Emperors of the Sea, Bughead the Clown. And apparently its subordinates are Crocodile and Hawkeye Mihawk. Yeah, this comes to play later on, basically, a follow-up with this. So, yeah, Luffy's an Emperor to see, and of course, basically, everyone says their goodbyes. Of course, Luffy says goodbye to the retainers with the exception of Kinemon and Momonosuke. And of course, Luffy goes back to, well, Curry Castle, which is the first time he's been there since, like during the first, 24 episodes. I think it's been a lot. It's been a while since it's been there last. He has been there since the very early episodes of the Wano arc. That was the last time he was there. Now, what the hole is, there's also a hole in the ground. You think, oh, is that hole basically where Big Mom fell in? Oh, no. Big Mom didn't fall in that hole. The hole basically Big Mom fell in was actually not even nowhere near there. It was actually at the capital. That's where she fell. And presumably she's dead, along with Kaido, who fell into a freaking volcano. So, they all say their goodbyes. Yamato, it's revealed that she is actually going to be staying in Wano because what happened with the Emerald. She's going to journey across Wano first, and then south the sea to join Luffy. Of course, she will be joining the Straw Hats. Of course, Luffy held her to that. It's similar to what happened with Jinbei, where he says, yeah, he'll join the crew, rather than take his responsibilities, which, of course, he does basically later on in Whole Cake. Yeah. If you're curious, that is just a few arcs just after the events of Fishman Island, because basically at Fishman Island, we don't see him again to Whole Cake. Basically, you had Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, Zhao, and Whole Cake. He does return the 4 arcs later. Do I think basically Yamato take 4 arcs to return? Well, kind of no, because Yamato does return in a series of cover stories, which I think they're about wrapped up. Yeah, because she has returned to the Flower Capital. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So, yeah, everybody says all their goodbyes. Frankie says goodbye to the carpenter boss, basically worked for when he was undercover as a carpenter there. Usopp. Basically, when Usopp we first see him when he first arrived in Wano, he was selling toad oil, which he had nobody to talk to while he was undercover. Robin, of course, was a geisha, which they didn't follow up with that much at all with her. It's like she was a geisha first, and then they just dropped that right after she's reunited with the Straw Hats. She does not say goodbye. We do see the old lady talking to Sunway, which, of course, basically does a bit follow with her, where it's hinted that she's becoming the second girl in the series to possibly have feelings for Sanji. Nami, for one can tell, does not have feelings for him. She just half the time uses it because he has feelings for her and Robin. And of course she's aware, but it's not known she feels the same way. Sunway basically just blushes every time she sees Sanji. Now, the last time this happened was the character Celeste from the arc of, was actually Whole Cake, where this is a woman who appeared a few times in the arc, got beaten up by basically Sanji's brothers, and then was mentioned, oh yeah, she became Sanji's servant, but nothing was followed up with that. What I think basically, if they encounter Germa again in the series, they actually might have her basically become a some part of the crew. It's possible. Who knows? Some way basically. I think for her, the only theory I have basically now, she is not. She does kind of appear in the cover stories for the Yamato cover story. Afterwards, I'll talk more about that in a minute. So, and Momonosuke basically is mad at Luffy for not saying goodbye to him. So basically, Yamato goes with them, with him and Kinemon, when they race basically the shoreline. And Momo doesn't fly when he's in dragon form. Nope, he just runs across Wano. And by the way, Kid and Law basically with their own separate directions. They left the country. And Momonosuke does tackle Luffy, and of course Yamato is there too, jumping on Luffy, and of course basically like, yeah, the Luffy knows she's going to join the crew eventually. Just basically she has to go through Wano first because she's been stuck on the island for 20 years, and now she wants to go explore Wano, go on a journey across Wano, and then go on basically out the sea, which of course they show that in the cover story. And they all say goodbye. Now, the reason why these two would save for last, because technically all this started when these two basically first met back in Punk Hazard. When Kinemon was sliced up by Trafalgar Law, and Momo was basically with a group of kids that were, well, experimented upon by Caesar Clown, which of course he didn't receive the candy, but he did because he was hungry, so he ate the devil fruit, which was a duplicate of Kaido's powers, and that's how he got basically the pink dragon form he has. So they all say goodbye, and the scene itself is very similar to another scene that's been shown. This type of scene has been seen a few times over the course of the series. Like, the first time this ever happened, you have a few characters waving goodbye to the Straw Hats we were close friends with, is in fact, well, the last official this happened with was actually Alabasta. That was the first that's ever happened. You probably think, did this ever happen again? Where you have basically characters just saying goodbye who've been with them for a while? Like after Alabasta? Well, this would actually not happen again for quite some time. Yes, in a way, you could say that the next time this officially happened was actually with Dressrosa. This did not happen at because that was actually Big Mom's territory. Zoe was just there to set up basically this arc and the previous arc of the series. This has overall been the third time this has happened, but at least Yamato is a potential new crew member, and in the case of Tama, she's basically going to learn how to be Konichi from Shinobu, who has basically been, well, thanks to her encounter with the Admiral, has slimmed her down to basically where she's now, despite back being in her 40s, she is smoking hot, and Sanji basically is blushing at this. Also, when they took the bath earlier, Otama basically was like just patting on Nami's breast, like, I hope my chest is as big as yours. Like, Nami's like, yeah, probably will. And of course, Nami does say goodbye to Tama, and Nami sees Tama as like in the case of Luffy. Luffy does see Tama as like a little sister. So does Nami. Nami definitely does see that. Like, all the crew basically treated her like a little sister, and they all looked after her during the reign of Onigashima. So, could she be coming back with Yamato? I could definitely think so. Yes. But she needs to learn Konichi training first, and I'm sure probably hopefully won't take too long, given how much time passes in this series, that you can probably do quickly and just have it, Yamato's leave the country, but you have Tama complete her training, and I would not be surprised, basically, if Momonosuke gave, basically, Yamato a task, basically, to take Tama with her, because basically Tama was promised also in the crew too, which I'm sure basically Momonosuke would do that. Though I'd be a little surprised, basically we have little stowaways and the little ship they have. But the thing is, like, here's the thing: no one knows how to navigate a ship, and trying to find them afterwards. I mean, of course, they probably got the papers where they went to Egghead, and they probably went to Elbath, obviously. But that's my best estimation exactly what's going to happen with that. Do I think there might be stowaways on that ship? Because Yamato and Tama go on this little ship if they find a way to get off the island, per se. Um, I'm sure probably that Kingdom may have taught him how to basically use a boat somehow. I'm sure because him and Momo basically used a boat when they escaped the country originally. So, who do I think was stowed away? I would be surprised if Hiyori basically stowed away, given the fact that she seems like she's attracted to Zoro. Yeah, she's attracted to Zoro, and do I think some way might be going with him too? I would think so. What about Toko? I don't think Toko will go along. No, I think Toko basically would probably stay there, or she'll probably follow basically Hiyori because she said Hiyori is like a big sister. It's possible. Who knows? But what happens basically kind of after this arc wraps up? Well, we have the cover story, which is still not adapted yet. Where mostly put, here's what happens. Momonosuke gives Yamato basically a quest to return this sword to this one area, and she goes on this journey, saves some kids, runs some retainers for this journey, runs the Who's Who, where apparently he has taken some remains of the Beast Pirates former gang, and also that that magistrate who briefly took Tama hostage during the first era, during Act 1 of Wano. He returns the arc, where he took, in some ways there too, she actually returns the arc too, where also for some reason Who's Who took Uti and Page 1 hostage, and because Yamato indirectly freed them when she took down Who's Who, they became her subordinates, and they pretty much followed her throughout the rest of the journey. They returned the sword, and then basically have some lunch, and then the last known chapter release has her right back in the Flower Capital. I am presuming this arc is pretty much done. I'm hoping so. Maybe they'll have it where Yamato basically, at the conclusion of this journey, gets a boat and leaves Wano. Because she already went on her journey. Probably one journey. She probably just want to journey across one. She probably doesn't want to do it again, per se. But after she probably sees Wano, she probably does want to go out to sea at this point. But I would not be surprised if it ends with Yamato going out to sea. Because that's probably what Oda probably... I'm sure that's probably what readers want to see. Her do is go out to sea. Tom probably go with her, because I'm sure probably at that point maybe her Kanichi training may have finished up, because I don't know how long it will take. That, or maybe Shinobu might go with them, because maybe her training is not yet complete. They might go with her because technically she is an adult, and she's the oldest. With at least another arc with her basically going on a little journey to find Luffy. It is possible. The only person I can think besides Someone and Hiyori probably tag along. The one character I could think possibly could join them is Kiku. Yes. But this arc was pretty much amazing. Yeah. And with that, basically, I'm done talking Wano. But let me point out something interesting, though, about basically, how long ago did I start this, reviewing this arc? Yeah. I start reviewing this arc, oh my gosh. I think it was like not long after the arc officially wrapped up 2 years ago that I have been basically reviewing this arc. Like, when did I officially start doing this arc per se? A little over 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago, basically, when I started this. January 2003, with episode 83 of this review series, is when I basically did Wano. This has by far been the longest one I've done. Yeah. Because you probably think, did Hokage take this while? No, not really. Hokage started with episode 60 for review-wise. And it did not officially wrap up until... It basically took about 19 episodes compared to Wano, which actually I started with episode 82 because they kind of started there, and now officially wrapped up here. Roughly 40 episodes later, I finally put this behind me, and the next to talk about this will be Egghead. Oh yeah, definitely. So that is pretty much that particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. So next up we have is the return of an anime that I last did 3 days ago, and I'm going to continue to view it today. And then it's going to be on to comic book history, and then probably go out to eat Chick-fil-A, come back, and I'll resume watching Trapper Day soon. Okay, thanks for you. Bye.